quote, a long-time oversight in the league's history, as stats and records from the leagues will now be incorporated into the record books. While stats of every game may not be available, Major League Baseball says they will work with the Elias Sports Bureau to record as much as they can from 1920 through 1948. The NFL Network says the Saints will know a lot more today about whether Drew Brees will start against the Chiefs or not on Sunday. The team wants to see if Brees has no pain and full range of motion before allowing him back under center. Giants quarterback Daniel Jones is also dealing with a sprained ankle in addition to a strained hamstring and could miss their game against the Browns on Sunday night, while Washington quarterback Alex Smith missed practice today with a strained calf. Miami Herald says Dolphins tight end Mike Gesicki likely to miss their game against the Pats with a shoulder injury. National Signing Day in college football.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's time for the Rundown with Rob Sanders.
Well, we're waiting.
Welcome into the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeart Radio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Today is early National Signing Day. We'll get into some of that momentarily, but I want to head out to the phones and welcome in former Gamecock quarterback. And I prefer to refer to you as a linebacker or as a member of the defense, because I not knocking your quarterback stuff, man, but you were a hell of a defensive player. And of course, I'm talking about Corey Jenkins. Corey, welcome to the program, man. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Rob. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing well. The first thing I wanted to ask you was your thoughts on the South Carolina hire of Shane Beamer. What do you think about the new hire there for the Gamecocks?
Well, I don't really know Shane really well, but the hype seems to be pretty good. Everything that people say about him is really good, and with this being his first Power 5 head coach's job, it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
And the big thing, of course, when you get at that as a Power 5 coach is recruiting. What do you think that Beamer needs to do on the recruiting front as far as just this year? Should he focus more on retaining the class that he has, or maybe try to look more into the transfer portal?
Well, I mean, I think he's going to have to do both. You know, he's a head coach now, so he's got to cover all aspects of being a head coach. And you got to win the guys that you have there, and you got to win over the new guys that you're trying to bring in. You know, recruiting is always a big part in Power 5 football, and he's just going to have to display a lot of energy and enthusiasm, which he does. So, you know, hopefully recruiting goes really well for him.
Well, I wanted to also ask you about the aspect of you played for several different coaches. Of course, being a professional, you went from one coach to another. How does that work for a player? Does that really weigh on their psyche as far as, hey, I signed with this guy, but now someone else is coming in?
Well, I mean, nowadays it's a little bit different, Rob. I didn't really mind who my coach was. It didn't really matter to me who my coach was. I can only control what I can do on the field and you know, what I'm allowed to do. But when new coaches come in, every player always has a thought of, oh, what's going to happen, you know. But guess what? That's out of your control. Only thing you can control is what you do on the field. So, you know, psychologically, you need to just have yourself ready to play football like you do any other time.
Speaking of the new coaches that are coming in, we don't really know exactly what Shane Beamer is going to do as far as offensive and defensive coordinator. But what do you think with the players that South Carolina has now would be a good direction to go as far as offensively?
Well, offensively, you just got to get a guy, I think, that has a lot of spunk, has a lot of creativity, and it's just a very upbeat and up-tempo guy. These kids nowadays look to that a lot, to a coach that's really enthusiastic and really excited about playing football. And possibly even a younger guy, you know, a guy that's not in his older ages, but younger, you know, and just a guy that can relate to the kids a little bit more probably.
You got to play for Coach Holtz. Do you think that, and Coach Holtz's offense, I mean, let's be honest, was kind of we consider it now a throwback. Do you think that's something that kids kind of can be sold on now? Hey, we're going to run a more of an older type of offense?
Well, I mean, I think with the offense we ran, people look at it as a throwback, but we were kind of, one of the first ones to do the four wide with a lot of quarterback runs. And now all they done is just spice it up. You just see a lot of things run off of that. You see a lot of speed sweeps, you see a lot of screens, you see a lot of bubble screens, a lot of tunnel screens. So, it's a old school offense, but it can relate very well to the new school.
With today being National Signing Day, you see some players that are going to go to school to play football, but you do have some players like the quarterback at Dutch Fork who's going to go up to Clemson and play both baseball and football. Do you think we're at a point now where we may be venturing away from the two-sport athlete? And I ask that because of obviously, you play two sports. Is it too much to get up for one and then down for another as far as your weight and everything else?
No, I don't think. Me personally, that never really played a part in my playing football or playing baseball. When you're an athlete, you go out and play. That's it, period. Don't matter how big or how small you are. It don't matter what sport you are. When you train physically, yes, certain things you can do, sport-specific training you can do, but you'll do that. And other than that, all the other lifts and sprints and drills that you do can all relate to whatever sport it is you play. So I don't think that really plays a part. I think it's good to get a two-sport athlete. You play one sport, it makes you better at another sport.
What are some of the tie-ins you think that being a baseball player can help you with as far as if you're going to play football as well?
Well, the mentality of baseball. Baseball is one of those sports where you probably fail more than you succeed. And it builds your strength mentally, for if something happens, guess what? You got to get right back up and go. Football, it's more of a physical and it's a mental sport. And so with that, you feed the two off of each other and you become physically and mentally strong. The more mentally strong you are, the better you handle any sport you play.
Corey Jenkins, former Gamecock quarterback, and of course played in the pros. You're one of the few people that can say, hey, I played for Coach Holtz and you played for Coach Saban down in Miami. Not very many guys can say that. Can you tell us something that you still utilize today that Coach Holtz may have taught you back when you played for him?
Man, it's really just going about your business the right way and just being tough. Sometimes people come out and they try to scheme you and say, okay, we're going to run this trick play, that trick play. We're going to out scheme them here and there. But, Coach Holtz was I don't care if you know what we're running. We're tougher than you. We're bigger than you. We're stronger than you. We're faster than you. Some teams had our numbers, some didn't. And, they knew what was coming. And, we were able to play really well, but we were played really physical for 60 minutes. And that was a part of our knack of being at South Carolina, is playing a full 60-minute physical football game. Even if we were losing, we still played physical. So toughness is one of those things I think that I've always had it even as a kid, but he just added to that being at South Carolina.
But Coach Saban is also known for being a physical coach. Do you think that his ideas, though, could actually work well in the pro game? He had the one winning season at Miami, but my vibe was that, and not to cut you off, but I think that his routine would get over better in college than it would with the pros. And you obviously played for him. Is that kind of the way you feel?
Yes, exactly. I think Coach Saban's going to go down as probably the greatest college coach in history as of right now, just because of what he's brought to that Alabama and LSU program. Because of his style of coaching and, what kind of coaching style he brings to the table, I just don't think it meshes well with the NFL. It's kind of like you get a big power back who runs out of the I formation and you put him in a spread formation. That's not, they don't go too well together. So I just think he's doing a great job at being a college coach, and I think that's where he should stay.
What was his mentality as far as dealing with pro players? And I ask because it seems like he has like a almost like a dictatorship at Alabama. But if I'm in the pros and I'm making $12 million a year compared to you're making $3 million a year, and I'm just using round numbers here, it's going to be hard for me to take on what you're selling there. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it definitely is. From playing for him for a year, Coach Saban's he's a good coach. Don't get me wrong. And again, because of his style of coaching, yeah, it does clash with some NFL players, and it's not even about the money aspect of it. It's about, you coach me, I play for you, but it's a way we go about doing it, and it's how we go about doing it. And, sometimes guys didn't like the way he did things. And, in college, they're not really going to express that opinion. They're not going to say, Coach, you know what? I don't like that. I don't want to do that, because they're in college. They're trying to get to that NFL level. Whereas in NFL, those guys are pretty free-tongued up there. They'll let you know in a heartbeat, nah, Coach, I don't want to do that. I don't like that. Especially a guy who's a seasoned veteran guy who doesn't mind speaking his mind.
Well, but you played with some of those guys. If I remember correctly, you played with Junior Seau, right?
Correct.
I mean, was he somebody that would be vocal and say, you know what, I'm not feeling that, Coach Saban?
Well, he's Junior's just a vocal guy in general. I won't get into what happened between him and Coach Saban or, things they would say, but I could just say he's a very vocal leader. He was a very vocal leader, a great teammate, and obviously a Hall of Fame great NFL linebacker. And when he went about his business, he went about it the right way.
Well, and we could talk about some pro stuff until the cows come home, because that would interest me. But I have to ask you about your time at South Carolina when you were playing quarterback, and then you had the capability to go onto the other side of the ball and play defense. Was that something that you really wanted to do, or did you want to try to continue to be a quarterback?
It didn't. I was a team guy. When I got switched over that last game, the defense coach Holt just called me in the office the week prior and said, hey, we're going to move you over to linebacker for this last game, and you're not going to play quarterback at all. I said, okay, fine. I was a guy that if whatever our team needed, whatever we, that I could do to help, then so be it. Just as long as I'm out there on the field playing.
And I just, after being the quarterback for so long, I think that would bug me a little bit. But I mean, you were so great at that linebacker spot, and that actually probably helped you out a little bit as far as getting a job in the NFL. Would you agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree 100%. And at the time, I didn't see that. I didn't think about it. I didn't say, you know what, he's putting me here so they can see that I can also play defense. And the funny thing about that is Coach Kosh, which was our linebacker coach, he let me know the first day that I got to South Carolina. He said, son, if you want to play in the NFL, come play linebacker. Those were his exact words to me, something I would never forget. And he repeated that to me several times throughout the year, of course, during the season, in the off season, and lo and behold, my one game at linebacker wound up getting me drafted as a linebacker. And he came to me and said, well, you could have been drafted a lot higher if you would have been here a lot longer, but that's okay. We got you.
Something to think about there. I want to talk about signing day for just a minute. I'm going to get into with recruits and stuff later on, but man, it has come a long way from when you signed. Tell us about what happened on your signing day and how that worked out for you.
I was in the gym. It was me, my head coach, my mom, and the state newspaper. That's it. We were at a table. I got my picture taken, as if I was signing my letter of intent. Picture was in the paper. That's it. So it was pretty simple, pretty basic, which was fine with me. I was excited about it either way. But, now with the way time has evolved and things are changing, it's a big showtime party now on signing day.
You think that with young men, they kind of buy into that hype a little bit? I mean, you see some of the stuff now, and it's like there's a player that he did like an entire like old kung fu style movie where everybody was in purple and he was running around slapping people silly. I mean, man, it has gotten completely built up now.
Well, it's one of them things. It's turning into what recruit can outdo the other recruit. Okay, he did this. Okay, y'all, let's go try to do this. We're gonna do this, or we're gonna do that. It's not just let's pick the hat and that's the one we're gonna go to. It's now we're gonna make it an entertainment deal, and that's what it's turning into. Signing day is becoming an entertainment day.
Well, and it's almost like they kind of seeped off of what the NFL does. Everybody was recorded when they got drafted, and then down, to the, when you're in high school now. And I just think it kind of inflates some young men because, a lot of these guys, you can have 5-star guys that really don't pan out, and they've been built up so big that sometimes the hype is just way too much.
Well, if you want to be that guy, you gotta learn early. It's goods and bad that comes with that. And I'm not really big on the stars. I'm not really big on this guy's a 3-star, this guy's a 5-star, because when you get to college, it's all about development and progress. I don't care how many stars you had in high school, because college is a basic high school all-star game every day. Every Saturday, it's a high school all-star game. Each guy on that college team was probably the man on his high school team. So now what's going to be your progress? What's going to be your development to make you stand out more than that guy or than the next guy? And I just think if I'm a 3-star and I get to college and I become a first-round draft pick, then what does that say? But you know what? I'm a 5-star and I go to college and I don't get drafted at all and I don't pan out. What does that say? So the star thing is not really a big thing to me. It's just, who do we have? How can we develop them? And how far can they go?
What's your advice for young men that are highly recruited? Do you think that they should take all their visits? Do you think that they should just center on where they want to go? Or is there a certain way that you would advise a young man to go on that front as far as recruiting goes?
What do they still get 5 official visits, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, I would advise to take at least 3. 5 would be a bit much, but I would say you take at least 3, your top 3 schools, and go see. And whichever feels like home, if you feel like you got to take the other 2, then do so. But I would advise a kid, that's a part of being recruited, is being able to go on those official visits. That's something you can't get back once it's over with. So I would never tell a kid, say, you know what, you need to go ahead and decide now. Don't take any visits anywhere. That's a chance for them to travel and get out and go see other colleges and, see what they will, what they can and won't like. So advice to that, go do it. Take all 5 if you need to.
Corey Jenkins, former Gamecock quarterback and, of course, linebacker, joins us here on the Rundown this afternoon. Corey, man, I appreciate you joining us here, man. I know that everybody's so busy this time of day, but I hope you're going to have a great holiday season, and thanks for joining us on the program.
Yes, sir, Rob. You do the same, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Have a good holiday.
Thank you, sir. All right. There you go. Corey Jenkins joining us on the program, and I appreciate when we have folks like that come on. It just kind of makes me happy a little bit because time is something you just can't get back, and he did about, an 18-minute interview with us here, and we talked about everything from Coach Saban's a great college coach to maybe he's not the best pro coach. And I think Coach Saban would probably tell you that too if you held him down a little bit. Bear in mind, though, he still took Miami to a winning record. People seem to forget that too. It's just amazing, though, when you really stop and think about it, the career that Corey had and the fact that, he played baseball and then came back and was the Gamecock starting quarterback and then played linebacker. So amazing stuff there. Appreciate Corey taking some time to join us here on the Rundown this afternoon, right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more for you today, including a look at the signing day classes and some comments from Coach Dabo Sweeney working on, I'm trying to find out exactly the time frame, if I can get the stuff from Coach Beamer today too, but we'll talk about that and a lot more in just a moment. You're listening to the Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Hey, thank you, IDK James. Appreciate that over there, man. CU alum here. We'll highlight that. Love the Jackpot channel. Look forward to South Carolina hopefully becoming competitive with time. It's fun when it's a real rivalry. He uses the term Tater Nation. I think isn't that like a Kale thing? So Kale and I, we worked together here, and I decided, I asked him if I could stream my show here on his channel to, kind of have like a midday type thing where folks that follow Kale can, get some of the work that I put in here in Columbia. So I appreciate you guys over there checking the show out. Some of the comments over here are outstanding. Alan V. Troll Patrol. That's funny. 105th as far as the Gamecock recruiting class. That's great. Here, what else do we got? UGA pays Muschamp to destroy programs. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah, good comment there from Joseph saying that that Corey should be a defensive coordinator somewhere in a college. It should be over recruiting. He'd be an asset to any staff. He's a straight shooter and a super intelligent guy. He is a winner. Yeah. And if you look at what he said too, he said he's a team guy. And bringing that and getting players to buy into that is outstanding. We're going to talk a little bit about the recruits that South Carolina has here in a moment. There are some, and we'll get into the Clemson stuff too. I've got some Clemson stuff that we'll get into as well. Kale works during the day, man. I'm going to try though. Brock with the great comment there. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeart Radio app. Of course, on Facebook and YouTube as well. You can find us there. Some great comments from the chat room, including RJ. We'll go with Joseph's first. Corey should be a defensive coordinator somewhere in college and should be over recruiting, be an asset to any staff. And by the way, Corey Jenkins still looks like he could go out and play. And I'm not just saying that because he was on the show today. The guy looks like he could still go. I mean, an amazing athlete. And I think once you're an athlete like that, it just kind of stays with you. Some of us are born with that and some of us aren't. All right, here we go. I want to look at some of the Gamecock recruits from today. We're not going to get too far in depth, but there are, I think, the jewel of the class. And I don't want to sound like I'm just trying to butcher this young man's name, but his name is Colton Gauthier, I believe is his name. How he pronounces his last name. 6'3", 205, number 23 pro-style quarterback in the country, listed number 55 among prospects from the state of Georgia. Now, if you look at just this Gamecock class and where they rank right now, you're going to be like, man, this doesn't look good. Yeah, there's going to be guys that go away. And some of them are going to think, hey, man, I was going to play for Coach Muschamp. Now I'm not. And there's also the aspect of, as Corey was saying earlier, you don't really know what Coach Beamer's got and what kind of offense he's going to implement. You don't know. I mean, he said that he's going to try to tailor it to the guys that he's got on staff or the guys that are on the team, but in reality, you don't know. So this class may look really different. I think the key for this class, though, is not only retaining as many as you can, but hitting that recruiting, that transferring portal, man. A transfer portal is going to be huge for the Gamecocks this upcoming season. But I think the big player here is Gaithier. He had offers from Ole Miss, UCF, Duke, Florida State, Kentucky, Louisville, and Missouri. So it's not like it was a bunch of non-Power 5 teams that offered this guy. I mean, he had some big time offers there threw for over 6,700 yards, 61 touchdowns, and ran for 17 touchdowns for his high school. So that's kind of the crown jewel of the class. He may get in there and compete with Luke Doty and Ryan Helinski. You never know. He will enroll in January, so that's a big deal for the Gamecocks. Now, the other guy that I looked at here is a young man named, as I'm scrolling through my notes here, I want to make sure I give you the exact thing here. And this man's name is cornerback Marcellus Dial from Georgia Military College. They should be in Columbia next month. Now, Dial is a guy that I think could come in and make some noise early for the Gamecocks. Of course, he's already been, getting bulked up at the junior college. He's 5'11", 180, 48th ranked JUCO prospect in the country, listed 7th among JUCO cornerbacks. He did play at Woodruff High School, and he committed earlier this year to Travaris Robertson, but he ended up with the staying with the Gamecocks. So that's the big story with him. Now, Clemson, with their class, their class is a lot different because they've had the actual coaching staff. Nothing's really changed. But when you look at this class for the Gamecocks, the big thing is, I'm not saying it's a throwaway class, but I am saying don't expect the world here. And you can't beat yourself up about it because look at it from this perspective. Even if Will Muschamp stayed, do you think the class would have been much better? I think they were like 43rd at one point. I think that's what it was. When you look at it now, they are way, way down the dial here. As I think they're like at 105th. But I'm checking the recruiting rankings right now. And of course, in the SEC, I have to scroll a good bit here. But as we look, we load some more here. I think the Gamecocks are right at 105th. And a lot of that's got to do with the fact that the coaching staff changed over. You can't expect the world here after everything that has gone on with this team, which is why I think it's important, as we were saying with Corey, hey, you need to hit that recruiting portal. Yes, South Carolina at 105th, 9 commits as we finish out our stuff on the Gamecocks stuff here, and then we will get into Clemson in just a moment. Obviously, according to the reports, Colton Gaither, the biggest signee there for South Carolina, the big quarterback there from Hebron Academy. Omega Blake is another young man that's a wide receiver that from Rock Hill. So they went back to South Point and was able to pick this guy up. And the Gamecocks have had some great players come from South Point, by the way. But Omega Black, 6'3", 194. When you look at him, and I talked to someone about him last week, and the only thing I got out of them that made a lot of sense to me was once he gets on that college weight program, he's going to gain some weight, and he should get bigger and stronger. But 6'3", 194, he's big and long and has the capability of putting on some weight and possibly coming in there and giving the Gamecocks some help at the wide receiver spot. Wide receiver was one of the spots that were troubled this year. We had Tim Frisbee on, and the big thing with him was wide receivers and linebackers. Some comments from the chat room. Gauthier is a 4-star on Rivers, the only kind of a 4-star that we signed, according to Brandon. Yeah, Brandon, thanks for that. I use 247 Sports. Everybody uses whoever it is that they like. I'm a fan of Josh Pate, who's been on this show before. He works for 247 Sports. I'm not mocking the guys at Rivals. I like to be consistent with what I'm talking about. And 247 Sports is where I go. Some people laugh because I use the 247 Sports composite, but it's just what I like to use. So there we go with that. But linebackers, though, Sam Reynolds, who played in Alabama, 3-star recruit. The Gamecocks did get some of their higher players were from on most of them on the offensive side of the ball, and they were guys that could help out in that receiving core. And at this point, you probably just need bodies. You got so many guys that Shi Smith, of course, leaving, and who's the Gamecock number 1 receiver next year? I don't know. We'll have to find out on that. Let's head out to the phones. Good afternoon. Welcome into the rundown.
Yeah, Rob, how you doing? It's Bobby and Casey.
Hey, Bobby. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. With all the recruiting that's on today, one big thing is the Supreme Court was going to make a ruling on the NCAA and paying athletes.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to direct message because we haven't joined up each other on Twitter. But if you go on my Twitter page, and I'm not trying to advertise myself, I retweeted some articles.
Well, how am I supposed to find you, Bobby, if you don't advertise yourself, man?
But
I'll have to figure that out. I'll go Twitter searching for Bobby. So we'll see.
Well, it's Robert P. Martell at
okay,
Bobby
yeah.
Martell.
There we go. Yeah,
But-
okay,
but-
I'll find that. Yeah.
But I'm trying to keep my eye on some of the cable news channels, that I don't like to watch.
Yeah.
It might come on CNBC, and I'm trying to keep my eye on that. So I'm trying to search the internet to see if there will be a ruling on that today by the end of the day.
Generally,
the Supreme Court on paying athletes, or they just act like a 900-pound gorilla, get up and move when they want to move.
Yeah, well, generally
Drag
they come at like 4:30, 5 o'clock with their rulings. So, yeah, we'll
Yep.
see how that goes, man. But
All right.
yeah, that's a big
All right.
thing. Thanks, Bobby. I appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you. Have a good day, Rob. Thank
All
you for your time, sir.
Yeah, man. Bobby joining us here on the program, and that's a big thing too. Paying college athletes. That's something else that's hindering today. And oh, by the way, we seem to have forgotten, talking so much about signing day, that there are championship games this weekend. But you know what? There's some sneaky games too that mean a lot. Not necessarily on the championship game front, but I'm talking about teams that are playing that coaches need some wins here if they want to keep their jobs. It's basically what it boils down to. We'll come back. We'll look at the Clemson recruiting class in just a moment. You're listening to The Rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. I agree with you, J-Rock, on that, man. I mean, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. That's the big thing. So, be right back. Let me grab something. Yeah, my Heisman winner is Devontae Smith. So, yeah. And welcome back into the rundown here on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeart Radio app. You know, Clemson had a big class today. I've got about 60 seconds worth of Dabo's press conference, Dabo Swinney's press conference that we'll play for you in just a moment. But one of the things that came up in the chat room today is, who is my Heisman winner? If it's not Devontae Smith, the Heisman's already a joke, in my opinion. It's generally given to the pretty boys that play quarterback. It's a quarterback / sometimes running back award. They don't want to give it to the absolute best player, in my opinion. It ends up being just silly the way that some things come out on that front. But Devontae Smith, in my opinion, is quite possibly the best player in college football. A lot of those plays that Mac Jones makes, they want to give Mac Jones all this credit for. A lot of them are because of Devontae Smith. So, yeah, he should win it. You can make an argument for Trevor Lawrence. You can make an argument for Mac Jones. You can make an argument for Kyle Trask. I also like Kyle Pitts, but Kyle Pitts was injured and missed some games. But you put Smith on any team, and that team is automatically going to be better. He is that good. Same thing for Pitts, too. And Pitts kind of fell out of it. First of all, he's a tight end. They'll never give it to a tight end. The Heisman Trophy Trust is so stupid when it comes to their voting. And I figured that out a long time ago. The year Ndamukong Suh did not win it, and he should have. He was the best player in college football. But no, we have to give it to a quarterback because we're too dumb to actually put the absolute best player there. So the Heisman, in my opinion, is an absolute joke. I mean, it really is. It really, really is. IDK James says, opinion on the UF CFP ranking. What's the deal with them and UGA? Overrated. Those rankings are ridiculous. Lose to an abysmal LSU. Make sure that I put my phone number up here. I forgot to put the phone number up here on the live stream. But the number to call is 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832 is the number to call. If you'd like to join us here on the rundown this afternoon on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeart Radio app, you are more than welcome to join us there on the phones. As far as the CFP rankings go, they are ridiculous. Ridiculous. And what I mean by that is that you have this whole thing of, we've talked about Ohio State, and it sounds like I'm an Ohio State hater, but the hypocrisy of it is insane. I don't understand how Florida drops just a little bit with that loss to LSU. LSU is not a good football team. You lose, you're a 24-point favorite at home, and you lose at home to LSU, who is, let's be honest, this isn't last year's LSU team. And yet, with that, you only drop one spot. They kept everything the same, the way that it was. Under this logic, then, under what they're putting out there right now, you know, regardless of what happens this weekend, you have to assume that Alabama and Notre Dame are going to be in the college football playoff regardless. They could lose their game. As far as Cincinnati and Coastal Carolina, good point there from J-Rock. Yeah, they were into they weren't ranked as high as I thought they would be. I thought that Florida was going to fall a lot farther than they did. I really did. And I think Georgia's a better team right now than they were at the beginning of the season. I don't really have a problem with Georgia being where they are. And the reason I can say that is because I like Coastal Carolina a lot. But if you put Coastal Carolina on the field with Georgia, what do you think is going to happen? Being a hardcore South Carolinian like I am, it would bug me to say this, but Coastal probably loses by 3 touchdowns. Just saying. They don't have the physicality to play with the Georgia Bulldogs. And They may get their chance, though, to end up playing a team in the New Year's Six, because I think if they win out, they should be one of the non-Power 5 teams that has a legitimate gripe to be in that in the New Year's Six. And also Cincinnati's in the mix too. But if you're a Coastal fan, you're going to think, all right, if we go undefeated, we should be in that New Year's Six, and they'll get a chance to match up with quite possibly a Georgia, and we'll get to see that. And I just said I think Georgia will win by 21 points. That's a Georgia team that's motivated, not a Georgia team that played against the one that played against Texas a couple of years ago. Okay, so there's that too. I want to play a little bit of a clip here of Coach Dabo Swinney from his stuff about recruiting today. And I'm working on getting some stuff. I think Shane Beamer goes live later today. We'll definitely have that for you up on the blog page at foxsportsradio1400.com. But some comments really quick here about from Dabo Swinney about today's folks that are coming into Clemson.
Always excited when this day comes around, and today was another great day for us. Christmas is next Friday, but really kind of came early for us. Signing 18 new Tigers in a week where we're going to see 16 current Tigers graduate today and tomorrow. Super proud of our graduates, and as we head into postseason this Saturday, I believe we've got 23 graduates on the roster. A couple of those already have their master's degrees as well. And so, that's one side of it. When you see guys that you all the way back in high school, and they come and they grow and they transform, and now they're leaving as graduates. And then you get this side of it where you have this great just energy and new guys that have chosen to come be a part of your program. I mean, it just never gets old seeing a young man choose Clemson, especially nowadays, where our program is, where our brand is. We have a national brand. We can recruit all over the country, from California to Texas to, Florida, Ohio, you name it, all the way to we've signed kids up in Connecticut and so forth. But this year, I think we had 9 states represented in this class.
Yeah, there you go. Coach Dabo Swinney with his press conference today. And the Tigers class is ranked 5th in the 247 Sports Composite. Lots and lots of great players. And they've got the possibility to get a couple more 5-star guys, because they're kind of in the mix for the young man Corey Foreman and an offensive tackle Tristan Lay. They're going to announce on January the 2nd where they're going to play. If you look at the 247 Sports rankings, though, the thing that gets me the most is who's at number 4. Number 4 on the list is LSU. You would have thought that they were going to have much more of a down spurt with everything that's going on this season, but apparently not. Quick break on the rundown. We'll be right back, and we'll wrap up today's show here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Yeah, I don't get that either, Maddie. I don't understand. I mean, I'm looking at it unless I'm looking at the wrong thing, but according to my notes, they are number 4. And I checked out the guys that they have. They've still got a bunch that are still not committed yet or not signed, but guys that are signed, their class is going to finish no worse than in the top 10. So if stuff continues to go down as far as some of the stuff we've heard about with Ed Orgeron and everything else, whoever gets that job next is going to have, if they can keep them there, man, they're going to have some folks that can play. I mean, it's insane. Welcome back to the rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world in the iHeartRadio app, 803-978-1832. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us today as we wrap up our show today. And it'll be great tomorrow because we can actually break down some games heading into the weekend, as this is championship weekend. Out to the phones we go. And good afternoon. Welcome to the rundown.
Yeah, I'm calling about Coastal Carolina. Everybody says that they can't beat Florida or they can't beat Texas A&M, but they said the same thing that UCF couldn't beat Auburn and that Boise State couldn't beat Oklahoma.
All right, and
That's just not true.
I think that's a fair statement, but if you had to ask me to bet, which we talk a lot about betting on this show, I think that Coastal Carolina, if they played Georgia, that was the one that I put out there, I think they'd have a hard time matching up with Georgia, especially with the defense that Georgia has. So
Yeah,
as far as some of the other Power 5 teams, I think they could compete with a good piece of them.
But would Georgia be, they say this team's not up for the bowl game because they don't get to play for the national championship.
Yeah,
And
I
if
think
those
that'll be
kids
there
are
too.
like that, Coastal could say this is their national championship, and they're going to play hard.
I mean, I think that's important. And I kind of mentioned that earlier with the whole thing of if it's the Georgia team that's motivated, not the Georgia team that was playing Texas a couple of years ago where they lost to a pretty crummy Texas team. So, yeah, you definitely have that too. So you're right about that front.
All right. Thanks a lot, man.
Hey, appreciate it, man. Thanks for joining us here on the Rundown. I'm not mocking the Chanticleers, by the way. Let's make sure that we're all on that boat. I want Coastal Carolina to win and be great. I'm not like, it's not like I have a Coastal Carolina hat, but as far as wanting them to do well as being a South Carolinian, yeah. Trust me, I'll be watching their game on Saturday when they square off with Louisiana and hope that they can knock them off and win the Sun Belt. Out to the phones we go, 803-978-1832. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Rundown.
Thank you.
Hey, what you got, buddy?
Oh, no, I was just going to talk about the number one, Coastal, and then number two, I was going to talk about the Clemson class and how do we think that Will Shipley will actually do. I've seen him compared to McCaffrey. So,
yeah, it's for me, it's hard to sit here and say, hey, this kid's going to be the next Christian McCaffrey, and he's never taken a snap in college. But when you look at, he's the highest rated recruit Clemson has so far that's signed, 5'11", 198. So, just a shade under 6 foot tall, about 198 pounds. He'll probably gain 5 or 6 more pounds going into college. And he could be that kind of guy that could make some moves and do something there. But the coaches that I've read about and stuff like that say that he has the ability to come out of the backfield and catch the ball. And if he's in space, look out. So there's that aspect of it as well.
yeah, I looked at him at his highlights. It seemed like he was more of like an ETN type bag.
I mean, ETN, I think, can get more in between the tackles, or he's developed into that. If you remember, Travis Etienne's freshman year, when he played against Alabama, they kind of popped him. And, he admitted, hey, I got to go and put some more weight on and get myself better on that front. So maybe that's how Shipley will do. But he looks like just a lightning quick guy that can catch the ball. And once again, if you think you're going to catch him, it's not happening. Just a very, very fast running back.
Right. And I guess to my other point, I guess I was saying that I feel like that Coastal was disrespected in the fact that I think they could beat LSU.
I mean, that's not really much of a reach there, sir. I mean, LSU is not that good.
So yeah, but they've been disrespected in the fact that the College Football Playoff Committee essentially said, well, Florida's still better, which that might be the case. I mean, that could have been a fluke game, but I just don't feel like a loss to LSU. Florida should have dropped way back. That's just my opinion.
I agree on that. But once again, this is the same College Football Playoff Committee that is trying to tell you that Ohio State is the 4th ranked team in the country right now, and they've only played 5 games. So,
well, I agree with that, but I guess I have less problem with that than I do the Florida thing where they didn't drop way back.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, because I could see them saying, okay, Ohio State plays really good. Okay, I get that. But when you see Florida lose some dude throwing a shoe across the field and Florida losing to freaking LSU, you know, to me, you can't keep them in the top 10 after that. But that's all I have.
hey, man, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining us, man. You're welcome anytime. All right, there you go. Appreciate that, caller. And, you know, you can make the argument about that with Florida. How far do you drop them? And to me, to be completely honest, with the CFP, after spot number 7, or what is it, 8, where that's where you if you're in the top 8, I think it is, you're pretty much guaranteed a New Year's 6 spot. Help me out on that. I can't remember. But generally, I lose interest after number 8, because after number 8, you're pretty much an average team. I mean, you may be a good team, but you're not as good as the top 4. Number 8 right now is Alabama and Cincinnati. I believe that Cincinnati is Cincinnati moved down. My recruit, I got to get my actual CFP rankings up in front of me. But the CFP rankings, you know, to me, it bothers me simply because they keep putting Ohio State where they are. And until they fix that and remedy it, it's kind of a mess. We're just getting them shoved down our throat. By the way, our 1-8 matchup, these are from 12-8, so I've got to get the ones from 12-15. But the 1-8 matchup, I think last week it was Alabama and Cincinnati. This week, I think Cincinnati moved back one, if I remember correctly. But the selection committee has Alabama 1, Notre Dame 2, Clemson 3, Ohio State 4. And I'm trying to get the full set of rankings up here in front of me, which I printed out earlier, but forgot to grab them from the printer on the other side of the building. I'm just in the camp of, I think 1 versus 8 would be good. Would not be as good of a matchup as 1 versus 4. So the idea about someone was talking about expansion, I'm not really on that front. I'd rather have 4 great games or 3 great games than to have a 1-8 matchup where Alabama wins by 60. That's not really cool. Brandon helping me out over there on Facebook. The highest ranked non-Power 5 team is guaranteed a New Year's 6 game. Right now, that would be Cincinnati. Well, if you're a Coastal fan, then you're wanting Cincinnati to drop that game to Tulsa this weekend, because that would move them right into the mix. So, yeah, there's that. And by the way, no, your 1-8 matchup would be Alabama-Georgia this year, would be Georgia this week. Alabama's already beaten Georgia by a good bit there, but that would probably be a more entertaining game than Alabama and Cincinnati. 2-7 would be Notre Dame, Florida. Huh. IDK James says, you're calling from Alabama and the CFP is trash. Yes, it is absolute trash. The way that it's set up, I don't have a problem right now with Alabama and Notre Dame. The top 2's fine. I think Clemson should be right there in the mix. You lose on the road in double overtime. Yeah, you should be right there. Ohio State, come on, man. Stop trying to feed that to me there. All right, so tomorrow on the rundown, we're going to break down some of the championship games. We'll have someone that will talk with us about Notre Dame, even though we've kind of already figured out what we've got with Notre Dame by watching them play Clemson earlier this season. What's changed? We'll get into that tomorrow. One of them is that I think Ian Book has gotten more into the passing game, but that Notre Dame rushing attack is outstanding, and they play some defense too. Defensively, they held that North Carolina tandem to nothing compared to what they've been running up against. So that's going to be a test for Clemson on the running front. I think the biggest thing with that is going to be Trevor Lawrence with his feet. Can Trevor Lawrence make plays and get himself to a point where make plays with his feet enough to keep them where they have to respect the running game a little bit and give Clemson a chance more in the passing game. McD Sports S4 says the top 12 CFB recruiting classes are tier 1 schools. That's true. Edwin with another comment before we get out of here. Edwin's my favorite LSU fan. He is an absolute realist. All of Ohio State's opponents except Indiana have worse records than LSU. Very good, sir. And remember, they struggled to beat them at home. My final thing today, shout out to Thrills Mills, my friend across the hall who brought me my Christmas gift today. And it is a bottle of Town Branch 6-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, single barrel reserve. It's numbered. Love some Gary Mills. I'm not going to drink on the air, but wow, this is outstanding. Thanks to Gary Mills for that. More of the rundown tomorrow on Fox Sports Radio 1400. All right, guys watching on Facebook and YouTube tonight, Carolina Jackpot and I will do the Rob and Kale show. We're going to do our picks. I might drink some of this tonight, so I might get stupid with my picks. Everybody look at this. Look at that. Outstanding. If you're into bourbon, outstanding. Yeah. But, hey, I appreciate you guys, man, and shout out to IDK James with the tips there. You guys rock. And obviously, if you want to reach out to me on Twitter, it's at Rob Sounds Good. I'm on Facebook as well. 9:30 tonight, we get after it with our picks and my bottle of straight Kentucky whiskey. Very, very happy about that. Jackpot joins me at 9:30. You guys have a great night. Thanks so much.